Okay, so I'll just open my Timid Harpy project and I'll just open a new scene so we can act as if this was a new project. Like you start a new game, and yeah, that's how we will treat this. Okay, so here's a new 3D scene. I'll just call it 3D scene so it's more obvious. Alright, so Godot is node based. What's a node? Well, this for example is a node, but generally a node is just a thing. For example, this is an audio listener 3D node. This is a camera 3D node. So just like, I don't think you can say objects, but a node is a thing, I guess, that does stuff, that has a certain use, and yeah, or an audio stream player 3D, just everything you see here. Of course, 2D exists too, but yeah, we'll talk specifically about 3D nodes here. Here it even says node 3D, but even this is a node 3D. Just more precise, I guess. Like, this is a kind of node 3D, specifically an audio listener 3D, which is, I guess, a subcategory of node 3D. So what we need, you have a search bar, and I'll just type in character body 3D. First we'll make a character, so I'll call it guide character, and as of right now it's still a node 3D. A character should have a certain node, so here you can do change type. For a character we should use character body 3D. Why? Well, because it has settings here that are specifically made for characters. This is what you should use if you want a 3D character node. Also, if you add a script, I would organize it like this. Like you have, or I have a folder for my characters, for levels, for music, just so it's nicely sorted. And for this I'll make it slightly less nicely sorted. I just put all of my guide stuff in this guide folder. Yeah. Alright, so this is saved. And now the reason, or one of many reasons, why you should use the character 3D node for 3D characters is because it will need a script. And if you create it, here, extends character body 3D, and it has all of these presets. Direction, velocity, input, everything you'll need. Okay, not everything you'll need, but yeah, it has things already set up, and that's just a little less work in the end. Also, this is the most complicated thing in my opinion. Like, I could not do this alone, so I'm glad this preset exists. I need either the preset or a YouTube video for directions and so on. The rest is easier, like changing the color of your character, changing the jump height, or all kinds of things. I just think all of the rest is a lot easier, and yeah, the most difficult part is already set up here, which is super nice. So if we go to 3D, so if you make a 3D game, you'll only really need 3D here, and of course script. If you make a 2D game, you'll need 2D and script. Yeah, we can't actually see anything. And sometimes if something is necessary and you don't have it yet, you'll get this little warning thingy here. It will even tell you what's wrong. So it doesn't have a shape and no collision. And as soon as we add those, this warning will disappear. So usually you should make your character mesh, you should model it in Blender, of course, which I think I'll show later. Yeah, I'll show that later. So for now, we'll just keep it simple, mesh. Maybe you've seen this on YouTube before. Usually if you just do some early testing, you just use capsule mesh. You've probably seen this before. That's just the default in order to test if running works, if jumping works. Yeah, if the basics work. You just use this usually. Now it wants collision. For that you use collision shape 3D. And let's also make this a capsule shape. And as you can see, it fits perfectly. So the bounce, yeah. You can still see the blue line, which would be this. You could, of course, make it bigger. Yep, but why would we do this? This is perfect. Now we have the script, the collision, and the mesh. So the character could already run around. But where does it run around? So we don't have a level yet. The level, I'll just call it test guide level, which you should also make in Blender, of course. But just for quick testing. Oh, and by the way, plus you add a node, and here on the right, you can instantiate a scene that you already have. For example, here's all the stuff that I have. I'll use Tim, I guess. Yep, here's Tim. And of course, you'll have multiple levels. Let's say you have 5 levels. Of course, you don't always add a node and always design your character again and again. You don't design your character 5 times. You make one character node, save the character scene, or you make one character scene, you save the character scene, and then here with instantiate scene, all those 5 levels will use this same one character scene. So you don't actually create the character 5 times, but you use the same one every time you need it. Since we just created a guide character though, I can type in guide, and this is how you would add it. So whenever you can use this instantiate, you should. You only create everything once, and whenever you need it, you instantiate it with this button here. Now we need ground to walk on, of course. As I said, you would do this in Blender, but just for testing purposes, you can use this here. I'll just move it under the character, zoom out a little bit, make it bigger, save test guide level in my guide folder. And I think I still need collision. Oh yeah, use collision. And then one more thing and then it should work. We need a camera 3D. I'll just put it here for now. I run the scene. Yep, it works. I mean, the basics work. We don't have light or anything, but this works. Now, of course, you don't want a static camera in the same place. So we'll delete this camera and attach to the character. Like the camera should always be behind the character or wherever you want it, but in this case I'll attach it to the character. So we'll remove this. So here's our guide character. Okay, the character gets a camera 3D. It should of course not be inside, but maybe a little bit like this. Now because we saved the character scene, it automatically updates in the level scene. Because the level scene just uses the character scene, which we just changed. So this whole system works really well. Yep, this is better. The camera is now attached to the character. Okay, I guess the next step would be to add light. So there are different light nodes, such as omni-light, directional light, spotlight, and also really important, world environment. This is a really useful one. As you can see, it's already, so even if I don't change anything, I do have to add a new environment, I think. Yeah, now the warning is done. Now the warning is gone. So even now, I think if I run it, it should already, there's a shadow, it should already look better, even without changing any settings. Oh, no, not actually. So let's change a few things, I guess. I want a sky. This looks dumb, so let's add a new sky. This is a lot of playing around, because you can change anything really. The ground color, the sky color, the horizon color, the height of the horizon. Just play around here. Yeah, so this is the default. You can of course change it. Maybe it's some lava level or whatever. Let's make it really red. Yeah, so as I said, you can change all kinds of things here. You just gotta play around and shape it however you want it to be. And usually that also influences the coloring of the actual level, as you can see. So the background color influences, or it shines its light onto the character and onto the whole level. Yep. This is a bit better. As I said, you gotta play around. You can add directional light, you can make it brighter, you can change the energy levels, but that's an artistic job, which is not what this level, what this video is about. This is only to make the basics work, which pretty much already work. I want to talk about a few more things though. So, the script. So, the physics process function, that's the code that runs every frame. Then, before that, you usually have, I don't know why this is not in the template here, but usually you'll need a ready function. Past just does nothing at all. Ready function runs once, when everything is ready. So basically you boot up the game or load a level, and when it's done loading, then whatever I put in here happens at the very beginning when everything is done loading. I can show this off real quick. Let's say when everything is done loading at the level, everything is loaded, I want to print hi. Oh wait, this is the guide character. I mean, it still does it, of course. It's not the level though. So let's run the level. I mean, the same thing will be printed. Yeah, here we are. Alright, so this happens only once, as you can see. If I put it in the physics process function, hi, and I remove it from ready, then I think by default the games are set to 60 frames per second. So now it should print hi 60 frames per second. Yep. Here the bar keeps getting smaller, smaller, smaller. It prints hi 60 frames per second now. Okay, so what do we put in here? Well, everything that we want to happen. What you usually have, and this is very important, if you don't do this, you'll have spaghetti code and real programmers will laugh at you. So you should really do this. You use states with enums. So what really does this mean? Well, a character can have different states. For example, he's on the ground. A ground state for being on the ground, an air state for being in the air, a swimming state for swimming, being in water, a hit state, like what's going on if you get hit by an enemy, a dying state, where maybe you lose control, you cannot move left, right anymore maybe, you cannot pause anymore, and all of these states you have to declare, of course. So, enum states. And now you just put them all in here. They don't have to be in capital letters, I think. That's just some programming norm, I believe. Yeah, I'm self-taught with YouTube videos, and I believe they said this is just a norm. But you could also, like, it won't throw an error if it's small. So let me change it here. Air, swimming, cutscene maybe, and dying. And then we add a default. So variable state equals states dot, and here this is the advantage of using an enum. It's saved, and now you have suggestions that suggest what you have. This prevents typing errors, typos, and it's just easier to work with. You get suggestions, and that's great. You could technically also declare it in ready. Doesn't really make a difference. Dot, and here are my suggestions. Now I can just choose. Prevents typos. Just a great way of handling this. Now, of course, what does each state do? Which possibilities do I have? How does my character behave in each state? That needs to be set up in the physics process function. So we remove hi. Now I think in C++, I'm not really a programmer. The only language that I kind of know is GD script here. In other programming languages, I think this is called a switch statement. Maybe you know how it works. Anyways, in GD script it's match. It just looks which state am I in. If I match state here, so it looks for the current state, and if the state is states.ground, then we do this. I mean, not really, but everything that's in this section here. Everything that's inside of these 3 arrows. Everything that's indented in here. This happens if the state is states.ground, which is the same as 0 actually. I'm pretty sure I could just put 0 here. But enums are great for readability. It helps you, it gives you suggestions, it's just a great thing. Or maybe my state is not states.ground. Maybe it's states.air. In which case I want to do these things. Not literally, we'll change these later, but just to show it off. And then we have cutscene and dying. So if I'm in the air and I touch the ground, so if is on floor, so I'm in the air, and then if I touch the floor, I want to switch the state. So the state equals states dot ground. The state, let's say the state is currently, I'm in the air, but while being in the air, I then touch the ground, then I want to switch to the ground. If I'm on the ground and I jump, let's just use accept. which would be, for example, enter. You can change all of these inputs here in project settings, input map. Here you can change it however you want to have it. You can set up controller inputs, keyboard inputs, whatever you want. But yeah, as you can see, UI accept includes enter. And if I press enter, then I want to jump, which I set up here. The jump velocity is what I set up here. You can change this, of course. Also, constant is like an unchangeable variable. So if this says constant, it can never be changed. Unless, of course, you replace constant with variable. Then you can later change it. This is useful, for example, if maybe later in the game you get a power-up. Then if this is a variable, then later you could do something like if power-up collected, which is, of course, now it will throw an error. Yep, exactly, because I never declared this. I'm just using this as an example. So if this power-up is collected, or if jump power-up collected, then jump velocity is 10. Then I jump higher. Of course, you cannot do this if it's a constant. So, as you can see, I press enter, my character jumps. The gravity was already set up in the template. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I have infinite jumps, of course. This is the thing about programming. Like, when people play a video game, I think oftentimes if they are not programmers themselves, they don't even realize, they don't even know that everything has to be programmed. Every little detail when it comes to running speed, jump height, disabling double jumps or allowing only one double jump, allowing two double jumps, every little detail has to be programmed. If you're new to making video games, I think you will quickly realize and recognize that, yeah, every little detail, every little thing has to be programmed. So, let's say you want one double jump. Then I could make a variable, double jump available. Oh, and by the way, one more thing. It makes the video game run smoother if you declare or assign variable types to variables. So right now, this variable could be anything. It could be a number, it could be text, it could be a packed scene, it could be many different things. So it's better and more performant if you assign a variable type to it. That just narrows it down and makes it more specific, which makes the game run faster. And that's not the only advantage. I think that would be such a minor speed advantage. I think the main thing is that it helps you program. Like, if I now assign it, if I now say it's a number, but then down here, I assign text to it, it throws an error. Cannot assign a value of type string, which is text, to a number. So yeah, I'm trying to assign text to a variable that I set to be a number. So it just helps with programming. Oh hey, this was supposed to be a number, not a text. It just helps you. So also, this is not supposed to be a number, but if I asked you, do you have a double jump left or not? What are your possible options for answers? Probably yes or no, right? So we make this a boolean, which means it's either true or false. By default, you should have it available, unless you already used it. So if we're in the air, input is action just pressed UI accept. So this is the double jump here. My state is air, so I'm currently in the air. In the air, I jump, and then since I want my character to have only one air jump, I now need to disable it. Also, I can only do this double jump if I have it available. So if double jump available. So what happens here? I'm in the air. I press jump in the air. It first checks if I have it. I mean, I could have already used it. So it checks if I still have one. If I do, so this means if true, then I do it. And I set it to false, so I cannot do another one. So next time, I'm still in the air and press it a second time. This is now false, And all of this does not even happen in the first place. And here, of course, if we jump, then the state has to be air. So I'm on the ground, now I'm in the air, now I double jump, and of course it does not work again. Maybe you heard my keyboard, so I press enter. Now. Oh wait, okay, another thing. That's just what I talked about earlier. If you land, of course you have to get it back. This is exactly what I was talking about earlier. Every little detail that players don't even realize, every little detail has to be programmed. So if I land on the ground, I have to get it back. So I'm on the ground, I press enter. Now it's gone. Now I get it back. Now it works again. Doesn't work. So I press enter. Now. The third time, as you saw, it didn't work. Now I landed on the ground, I got it back, so I can now do it again. Yep, so if you're new to making video games, get ready for having to program every little detail as you just saw. From removing double jumps to getting them back, every little thing. Okay, what else could I show? What else should I show, Aliski?
That's about it. See ya.
Could technically show a super quick character in Blender. So I just make a snowman real quick in Blender.
Snowman.
Because that's only three balls and I can do this quickly. Alright, so I'm a big Godot guy. Whatever I can do in Godot, I will do in Godot. Blender, personally, I'm no expert and I try to avoid it. But for nice looking levels and character models, you'll just need some 3D modeling software. So it's just kind of necessary if you don't want to have only simple shapes like balls, capsules and boxes move around. If you want actual proper looking characters, you'll just need something like Blender. So yeah, very quick short Blender tutorial. First step, you press A on the keyboard to select everything. You press X, delete. Then Shift A, mesh, and whatever you need, whatever looks the most similar to what you want to make. Like in Tim and Harpy, Tim is a mushroom, so I started with the cylinder. Since we already have a capsule which looks similar to a cylinder, I will make something slightly different. I think I'll make a snowman. So I start with the sphere. This is way too detailed. 16, sure. Yeah, let's keep it. I like to name this properly. Snowman. Alright, it took me quite some time to get into Blender. For beginners, it's a lot. There's quite a lot to learn, but this is my workflow. So, here you can move stuff. I move this up. I add another mesh, which is another sphere. This was saved. Nice. This should be bigger. So, ball 2, yeah, I'll actually name it like this. Ball 1 is on top. Ball 2 is under it. We want it a bit bigger here. Scale. There are lots of Blender tutorials on YouTube from people who know a lot more with Blender, who are a lot more skilled than me with Blender. I'll just show you my workflow. But for a proper tutorial from people who know what they are talking about, yeah, I'm not the most knowledgeable Blender person at all, by far. It's a bit too big actually. Just slightly like this, and then a third one. So Shift A again, mesh UV. Let's move it down here. Is this approximately what a snowman looks like? I guess. Ball 3. Of course we could add carrots and so on, but this is not a Blender tutorial. What would I do next?
Can you make the balls that, the bottom of the balls be a little bit flattened?
Ah. Yeah, okay, let's make the bottom ball a bit flattened. So scale. And now I don't use the white outline because that scales all 3 dimensions. we only use set, so up and down. So if I want to flatten it a little bit, I would only drag the blue one. Yep, do you see this? It flattens now, like this. Alrighty. Okay, and the bottom one is a bit flattened.
Yeah, all of them actually should be because they're all sitting on.
Oh,
Some...
all of them. Okay. Alright. Like this.
Yeah. Not too much, but.
And the top one too.
Just a little.
Alright. I have made way nicer models, but this is just a very quick tutorial, not primarily focused on Blender. I just want to mention that I do have way nicer models in Tim and Harpy. Just to mention this real quick, this is not my game. Or the quality of my game. I do have very nice models. Actually, editing would be done here in edit mode. And you can always only edit the object you have selected in object mode. So right now I have the object ball 3 selected, which means I cannot do anything on ball 2 or ball 1. You can, of course, and I think you should even do this to have less draw calls. You should actually join them together, so Control J. Yep. Now it's all one object, less draw calls, and now I can call this snowman. And very important in Blender, this has messed up multiple things when I started with Blender. I don't actually really know what exactly this does, but you have to apply transforms. Very important. This is really important. This has messed up multiple of my models. I fixed them afterwards, but yeah, this has caused problems, so always apply all transforms. Alrighty, now in edit mode, press A to select everything, UV, Smart UV, here point 1. I just watched tutorials and this is just my workflow now and it works for me. So I won't actually go very deep into explaining because I can't actually explain all of this. This is just my workflow, how I learned this through YouTube tutorials, and this workflow works for me. So you can just copy this if you want to, or watch Blender tutorials, proper ones. Unwrap, and now we have a UV map here for texturing. Alrighty, let's move on. Here I use Workbench because Eevee and Cycles makes Blender crash for me if I select certain tabs. Like if I select Eevee and I pressed on shading now, I'm pretty sure Blender would crash. Or if I went down here to texture. So I always use Workbench. Then we need a material and a texture. Material. Yep, now I have a material. You can change metallic and roughness. So if you put metallic all the way up and roughness all the way down, this is as shiny as it can get pretty much. But we have a snowman, so snow is not really shiny, so the opposite would be not metallic at all and all the way up on roughness. I don't know if, because here it says viewport display, I don't think this makes an actual difference. It's only for how it looks in Blender here. I don't think this actually changes the model. For that you would have to go to shading and change it here. So metallic all the way down, roughness all the way up. And I think if you change it here, then I believe it makes a difference in the actual exported model. Alrighty, now we have the material. Now we need a texture. You go up here, plus base color. You choose a size. My game, Tim and Harpy, I make it in retro style. It's like Banjo-Kazooie, Donkey Kong 64, Banjo-Tooie, Super Mario 64. Just the good old classics who usually have smaller textures. So just to have this style and these visuals, these graphics, I use smaller ones on purpose. Also because I want my video game to be lightweight. I know computers are really, really good nowadays. They can easily handle like 4K textures, but I purposely use smaller ones So just use whatever you want, really. I purposely use smaller ones. For this one, we don't need alpha, though sometimes I use this for some textures. Sometimes it's necessary. If like you want the texture to fade into transparency on the edges or something like this, something like that, then you'll need alpha. But for this, I mean, a snowman doesn't really have transparency, so off for now. Now this is the base color. It'll color the entire texture in this color. Yeah, at first. Of course we can change it then. Yeah, why did I even change anything? I mean, snow is white, so let's keep it there. Yep, it's white. Oh yeah, one more thing that you can do. I believe it uses up some performance. Not really significant with modern computers nowadays. It depends on the style you want to go for. But what you can do, I mix this in my game. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. But a little visual trick you can use. You select your model, right click, shade smooth. Yep, this makes it look very nice and smooth. So yeah, depending on the object or model that or the mesh that I use, sometimes I use it or not, but in this case it's actually perfect. I mean, for a snowman, this looks so much better than the alternative. Yeah, now we can paint a little bit. You either use the normal drawing mode, where you just, yeah, you draw like this. Let's just actually a bit smaller, maybe 20. Then snowmen usually have like stone mouths, right? Similar to this. You use pebbles or something like that. Then a carrot nose. Okay, a carrot would have to be part of the model actually. I would have to add another mesh here. Just drawing this, I mean, I can't draw in space really. So I guess let's make it a pebble nose too. Pebble buttons. What do I do here? I don't know. What could I do here? I guess that's it for now. What could I add?
I always thought the buttons go all the way down.
Oh.
I don't know, maybe it's wrong.
Yeah, okay. Let's make the buttons go all the way down. Here to be nice and centered. Go all the way down. You could also draw here. So if I do this, it changes it. So sometimes that might be useful. All the way down. Oh, and little tricks I want to mention. Let's say I only want to draw on the top ball with like a big like 50 here, and I just don't want this to be drawable at all. Two options. Option one, you just hide the ones you don't want to draw on. So very quick, I won't do this very precisely, just to show it off. By the way, I pressed C on the keyboard, then I get this. Escape to get back, and H to hide. Yeah, there's still some. Yeah, I think this works too. Yeah, hide. Hide. There's still something. Hide. All right. Now texture paint. Yeah, now it's just gone. Now I cannot even look. I'm drawing right now, but it's gone. So Control Z to undo. Second option. Sometimes you might not want to draw on the other two balls, but maybe you want to see them just to have a reference, or just because for some reason it makes it easier for you. So edit, Alt H makes it unhide. So I select the top. There's a nicer way to do this. You select here the faces, and then Alt Shift. Yep. It's a lot better. The inside will probably not work. Yeah, never works for me, so the inside has to be done manually. I don't know why Alt Shift Select doesn't work on the inside. It's always the same. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Probably. Alrighty. Now I only wanna draw on the top ball. And then you can select this here. Yeah, with this selected you can only draw on the selection. See, I'm drawing, but only on the selection. Okay, just two little things I wanted to mention. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, you save all images. You save the whole project. Here, pack resources. unpack, use this, save, and then export as this here, GLTF 2.0.
When I told you to flatten them, I didn't mean to change the shape, but to keep it round, but to make the up and bottom flat.
Oh.
Yeah, because when you put snow on top, then it gets a little bit flat here.
Oh yeah, I could have done that. Oh well, it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, the snowman, just into the guide folder. Alrighty, now Godot recognizes that an additional file was added, and it'll just automatically process that, which will happen in a little bit when this is ready. Yep, here it is. Re-importing, it was there for like only a fraction of a second. Yeah, so let's replace this actually. I don't want this boring mesh instance 3D, so yeah, let's just delete this actually. We open the snowman GLB. Yeah, sometimes here it's not this noticeable because most of this is white, but I think it actually happened again. Usually the quality is really bad. You might think, hey, it looked so good in Blender. Why does it look so horrible and disgusting in Godot? Well, because it's compressed. Yeah, embed as uncompressed, re-import, and as you can see there are little artifacts here. After this they will be gone. Yep, no more artifacts. So, uncompressed, very important. I guess they want to save space or whatever, but it just usually looks so much worse that, yeah, you should do uncompressed. Yeah, new 3D scene, you just add it. Then if it's like this, you can't actually edit the mesh. So you usually do this here, open anyways. This one, don't save. Yep, and now you can edit it however you want. Maybe we want the blue snowman, green snowman, dark green snowman. Whatever you want, you can do whatever you want. Maybe the snowman is really hot. Lava snowman. Yeah, calm mode should be. Alright, so my game, Tim and Harpy, will be in retro style. I want it to be very lightweight, even be playable on weak machines. So I usually make it a bit more lightweight by... Not always, I think Tim and Harpy, the main characters, I believe they do cast shadow. But if it's not super necessary, I just turn this off. Makes the game run smoother. Global illumination, disabled. And if you're really far away, then it just unloads, maybe 60 or 70 or whatever. Yeah, just makes the game more performant. Similarly, there are settings here. Shadows, disable receive shadows. If you want to, all of these are optional of course. If you want to make a hyper-realistic AAA super game, then keep these on of course. But I like to turn them off sometimes. Unshaded, yeah, this is of course without any kinds of shadows at all. Yeah, I usually keep them. Yeah, now it's saved. Now we say, wait, actually I want this. Not snowman too. Snowman. Now that we saved that, snowman, the scene. Yep, now we have this here. Now of course I didn't add arms or legs. If we did, then now the next step would be to add an animation player and animate. Yeah, so for example in the script we would then have, well, if we run, which is somewhere... Oh yeah, all of this should of course be in... You take all of this and put it inside where you want it. So of course, if you, if you're dying and you don't want the character to be able to move anymore, then you don't put this in dying. But you do put it where you want the character to be able to move. So yeah, ground for example. Now I already put jump in here, so we don't need this again. I can actually delete all of this. Oh yeah, and also comments. Yeah, I haven't talked about comments yet. So these here are ignored by the game really in runtime. These are only for you. So whenever you put this symbol here, then that means that this line is a comment. It's not part of the physics calculation, it's only for the programmer to have some helpful comment that helps you read the code. So maybe the following handles movement. Yeah, stuff like this. Alright, so I want to be able to move in the ground state and in the air state. Yep, swimming. The way I would handle this, I would add some area 3D with a collision shape 3D. Where is it in 3D space? Box shape. Where is it? Let's make these invisible. Oh yeah, there it is. So that's my water box for now. So this is water here. And then one more thing I haven't talked about yet is functions and signals. So what I would do here you have the signals. If I wanted to make water, I would do body entered. Oh, the level doesn't have a script yet. So this is my level script. You will also need this probably. Body entered to the level script. We don't want... Or maybe you want enemies in water too. But if you only want the actual player character to be able to enter water, or have water physics or whatever, then body.state equals, what is swimming? 0, 1, 2. State equals 2. Yeah, this is the level script. So you don't actually... I mean, you can use body, but you could also just... I mean, the level has the character. Oh yeah, one more thing. So, get node. Or first, let's talk about how all of this even works. So, nodes, right? Test guide level. That's the parent node of all of these. So, test guide level is the parent node of world environment, guide character, CSG box, and area 3D. These four here are children of test guide level. There's always a parent node and child nodes. Get parent, which in this case doesn't make sense because test guide level doesn't have a parent. But the guide character could do that. Like in the character script, we could have a get parent and then whatever you want to get here. There's also get child. And then of course there's get node, guide character, but there's a shortcut for this. So one thing that's shorter, but does the exact same thing, is using the $sign and then do guide character. This is the exact same as writing this here. Position dot position. These would do the exact same thing, and I can prove it by printing the position. So the exact same position will now be printed twice, because these two lines do the exact same thing. Yep. Yeah, now because of this huge model that I made, the collision is a bit messed up. But still, the signaling works. Yeah, here's my model. And here's the collision shape. Yeah, okay. Okay, this is a bit better. Yep. Alright, yeah. So these are obviously the very, very, very basics. There's a lot more, but feel free to ask me questions in the comments. And I hope this helped. Bye!